Mikey, we're up.
Vinnie, how wonderful.
How
He's
are
New
you,
York
Mikey?
Vinnie. I'm great. He's New York Vinnie. He's in Seattle, Washington, and the weather today in Seattle is what is it, smoky and hot or what?
No smoke. Skies are blue. The birds are chirping. Sun is shining. It's about, I want to say 72, 73 degrees.
Wow,
I
nice.
know that the BC stuff may be coming, but oh, 64 with a high of 77 today, low of 54 degrees. Sunny conditions continue all day, baby.
You know,
Wind gusts, baby.
our
All
high
up
temperatures
to
are
12.
going to be about the
12.
same. It's going to be the same temperature here and sunny,
Yesterday, my life was filled with rain.
but
You're
not today. But
supposed to say
today,
sunny again. I was giving you the forget it.
I know.
How
I was gonna sing "It Never Rains in Southern California," but the different tune, same idea.
Albert Hammond, one of the great producers in rock and roll history, and everybody remembers him for that song.
The funny thing is, I remember him for the label. There were only two releases on his label, Ma'am, whatever that stood for. It was him and Gilbert O'Sullivan, and they both had hits. And then the label just said, "Look, this is too easy. We're going to get into some other line of work that's more of a challenge. The hit making is something we know how to do. We're going to take a shot at something new. Good luck to the music business. Goodbye and good luck."
Always liked Gilbert O'Sullivan. Always thought he had, always liked the songs. I mean, they were quick, snappy, been a little while for now, not feeling it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and
And he could play the piano.
yeah, and my sister had a friend, has a friend. They're still in contact. They still talk. And I was friends with her brother, Jimmy, and her name was Claire. So every
Ah,
time I
okay.
would see her, I would start singing Claire
By
to
Gilbert
her.
O'Sullivan.
Now in those days, I was doing a lot of Elvis. I was 1971. I got to show you a picture of what I looked like in 1971, man. I used to I used to jump up on the hoods of cars. We were hanging out on the street corner.
Yeah.
I would jump up on the hood of a car and start doing Elvis. You
Well,
know, and and I actually developed like it. I had an actually good Elvis act. If you go back to Jackson Heights, you find anybody that they remember that, but I would sing her Claire all the time. I always remember that, man. She's still going. Her brother passed away many years ago, Jimmy Calvi, from Jackson Heights. But that song though, man, Claire. The moment I met you, I swear.
but Vinny, isn't there a downside against jumping up on the hood of a stranger's car, even in New York City, where things like this apparently happen every day?
Well, the hoods were stronger in those days. I mean, they just delivered me a Toyota Crown, and it's a beautiful car, luxury, beautiful car. But if I jumped up on the hood of that car, first of all, it would be nothing short of a miracle. But secondly, you know, the hood would collapse.
Tissue paper.
Yeah. In those days, you had hoods on cars, man. You get that big jump on the hood of an Impala, and that freaking thing was like a floor in a building.
A 1947 Dodge had a hood that was as long as a battleship.
I had a '39 Pontiac that I
Whoa.
got from my friend Joey Fontaine. He blew the engine, and I think I bought it for him for $25 or something like that. Man, not even that much, maybe 10. And I had to tow it off the street. So I bought it and I took it down. And you could jump, but when he had that car, you could jump on the hood of that car, man. And the hood wouldn't even move. It wouldn't buckle, it wouldn't do anything. It would just boom. I mean, I remember one time we were doing with his car when it was still running, we're standing on the corner, and there was this girl that I liked that used to walk by down
Imagine that.
83rd Street. So one day I see her walking by, and Joey Fontaine's car is parked there. I jump up on the hood of the car, And I start singing, Cara mia, why must we say goodbye? And there's, 25 people hanging out there,
Well, they knew the song. They knew where you were going with this.
Each time we part, my heart wants to die.
I saw him at the University of Miami. Jay and the Americans played there, and true to his form and true to his performances later in life, when a lot of people wouldn't be able to hit the notes that he had to hit in those songs, he was a great singer. They were
Oh,
great harmonies, great voices,
yeah,
and
Jay Black.
great showman.
Yeah, that Jay Black was. I saw him. I'll tell you what. You know those oldie shows that they run on PBS.
Oh yeah.
The last one that they did, I was in Pittsburgh for. Those were all filmed in Pittsburgh.
In what theater?
In oh man, the Bynum, I think. And so I got to go.
Oh boy.
2 nights. Awesome. I mean, it was, for me, a kid that went to those rock and roll revival shows back in 1971, the Richard Nader shows and the Gus Gossard shows, and
Gus Gossard, another DJ.
Gus Gossard, right? Well, they used to put together shows, and Gus Gossard would put his shows together down at the Academy of Music, which became the Palladium, and that was a smaller venue, obviously, than Madison Square Garden. And we used to go to all of these shows. I mean, we had a group of guys and girls that were into the oldies.
Right.
I listened to new music too, what was happening currently, because I also at the same time worked in a record store part-time. But
hey, if you're young, there's always going to be oldies that don't apply to anybody else that sound great and new to you.
Right, but the stuff from the 50s. So, we listened to Gus Gossard religiously on WPIX FM, and I would go to all those shows. Anyway, so I saw Jay Black there. I seen a million. I see Fred Paris in the Five Satins. Really, if you saw that, you saw rock and roll.
Yeah, you saw
and it was still young enough.
Yeah,
where there were many of the original members of the group together, and they still had it.
Oh yeah.
And so I go to the show, and Jay Black is there, and he comes out and he does Cara Mia flawlessly. He's got to be 80 years old, 75 at least. He comes out and he just belts it out like he was 16. How in the world?
Well,
the other guy.
Some people lose their voice later in life, their singing voice.
Yeah, me.
And it can't. Nothing you can do about it. It's just the advance of age, and it affects different people differently. Some people maintain their voice to the age where you wouldn't think it would be possible. And sometimes it depends on how much they sang when they were younger. A couple of road shows with Leon Russell and the Mad Dogs and Englishmen. And, Joe Cocker's voice went from Lottie Lottie Miss Claudie to not being able to hit the high notes anymore.
Yeah.
Ever again.
Yeah, his voice was pretty trash by the time. I saw Joe Cocker in 71 in New York. I think I saw it at the Schaefer Music Festival. Then I saw him probably 80. Well, let's see. I was going out with, that was like 90 or 80, 88, something like that at the Warfield in San Francisco. And yeah, there was definitely a difference in his voice.
He had to choose his material more carefully. He couldn't go crazy as he did. But if you listen to his first 2 albums on A&M Records, they were pristine and beautifully done.
Oh, yeah.
And the power and the majesty of his voice was in full bloom at that time. And his choice of material was always great. He had a funny thing for a guy with a big, powerful voice. He always did very well with the ballads, because there was so much feeling in his voice. There was just so much emotion in his everyday voice.
Yeah, he blew me away, man. Joe Cocker. I mean, I still to this day, when I'm taking a trip, a long trip, one of the albums I listen to is Mad Dogs and Englishmen. I mean, that album will never leave me. You know, that tour, Leon Russell, Rita Coolidge, Joe Cocker, all of those, that whole tour.
And the great band which they stole from Delaney and Bonnie.
Right, right, right. And when he comes out and he goes, I want you to cry me a river now. Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. You just take off into another place. The music today doesn't do that.
The funny thing about that particular song is there's a funny thing that Leon Russell did to Joe. It wasn't very funny, but it was amusing, and that is he would never let that thing end. They started Cry Me a River over 3 or 4 times, and when it was done and Joe was done singing it, and I'm really finished with it, Leon Russell would go ding 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 ding,
right.
And then
they do that. Bum,
Cry Me a River.
Bum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum.
Yeah, great album.
I'll tell you who else blew me away at that Pittsburgh show, and I'll never forget this guy, man. He had one huge hit, but Eddie Holman.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you there, lonely girl?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, he came out and sang it, and I mean there was no auto tune, there was no, it was him, man. And he did that song. Man, he had women in the audience crying. His voice was so perfect. And when he hits that, at the end of the song, when he hits that, hey, lonely girl. Oh my God. You could it was like 1,200 women had an orgasm at the same time.
That's very disturbing to hear, Vinnie. I'm sorry that you had to
witness
that.
1,200 at the same time is not bad. I'd be up to see that,
Well, was there a famous oldie station in Pittsburgh that kept the music alive there? Is that why it was the center for everything? Or was it just basically BJ or AJ Lebowski or whatever his name was?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. There might have been an AM station, but WDVE was an AOR
mainstay
kind of station. But there was no oldie. Well, there was, but it was down the end of the AM dial. And Pittsburgh is much like Seattle. It's got the hills, and here you can't hear it here, you can't hear it there. It comes in with. I mean, KDKA, which is the biggest station in the town, in the region, still comes in staticky. So
fire the chief engineer. That's fixable.
Well,
and fire the guy who hired him.
I like that. It was but New York went through a progression of oldie stations, and when you love the oldies, and at that time, now the oldies are in. Back then, it wasn't the same. It was if you liked oldies, you were weird. If you liked Elvis, you were weird because all of those people you talk about, Joe Cocker and Leon Russell and Savoy Brown. I mean, I can go through, the list. All these different bands were coming and playing the Fillmore. They were playing the New York State Pavilion in the World's Fair.
Yep.
That the big tent of tomorrow, they had concerts in there.
They have you don't have to wait till tomorrow?
No, you can see tomorrow's concert tonight if you have the right acid. I mean, boom.
see it before we play.
We had a tree that was across from.
Let me get my coffee. Go ahead.
The tent. And so what we used to do is we climb up into the tree and watch the shows. We called it the Trippin' Tree. I think I don't have to tell you why we called it the Trippin' Tree.
Not at all.
We called it the Trippin' Tree, and we'd sit
comes
up
with every state. Comes with every fair.
And I fell out of the Trippin' Tree once.
Onto the hood of a 1938 Pontiac.
Wasn't fun. It was not fun. But that era of music, Mikey, they could come up with anything they want to come up with today. But the radio was our social media. you found out about everything on the radio.
Yep.
There was always, even when I go back, CBS FM, another air chick I was there's a guy on YouTube, Ellis Feaster, and he collects old air checks. He puts them up on YouTube,
Wow.
and yeah, you should look. You might even be there. But though everything that you got, the information, the news, all came from the radio. All if you were counterculture, it all came from the radio.
Do you remember the idea that in your break you would have one idea because it was an important thing to communicate something? You can't communicate two ideas. That's just talking. I've heard disc jockeys do three ideas, and you think they're going to play a record, and then they do something else, and it's just preposterous. So now, a break for a radio station is have no idea, communicate nothing,
Right.
say something, but it doesn't. Don't let it be interruptive. Don't let it be too much information. Don't take an opinion. Don't give them any direct news like tonight. Just something flowerful. Do the positioning statement. Maybe even a back announce if you're up to it. But if you can't remember what you played, I understand.
Well, because you don't remember because you're not taking it out of an album cover anymore or a CD thing.
And
You know,
it's of no personal interest to the disc jockey.
you used to pick up a nugget of something either by reading the liner notes
Right.
or reading the trade, the trades, or not even the trades, but I mean, I always read things like remember Hit Parader,
Sure.
the magazine that had all the song lyrics in it.
Oh yeah.
Used to read that. You'd always pick something up reading those things. There'd always be some kind of fact or something, and then what you heard on the radio. You heard all sorts of stuff, and that's gone.
In those days, who produced it, where it was recorded, when it was released, what the band is doing now, what contracts they've signed, where they're going. That was important information.
Yeah. I mean, you'd hear somebody come back from a break, and that's Lighthouse with One Fine Morning. They're on tour in Connecticut right now, but they are going to be here at the Bottom Line on Tuesday night, July 2nd. So
And there's tickets. Yeah, there are tickets available.
Yeah, get your tickets are available at all EJ Corvettes and at Ticketmaster. All right, let's get back to it right now.
Here's another band from Canada.
Yeah, exactly. Here's another Canadian band. Here's Rush or oh man. Yeah, you just you gave people information.
In my new format, in Midnight Daddy's musical format, the one thing that we talk about for the first year is you don't talk about anything you've done in your life. You don't talk about your personal experience or your personal favorites or what you like or what your favorite is. Just talk about the music that you're playing today. It's 2 songs and a break, 2 songs and a break, 2 songs and a break. You make those 2 songs important and in some relation, any relation. I'm not stubborn. Make the songs relate to one another in the beat, in their title, in the artist,
Right.
in the future, in the year, in the style, whatever it may be. And then you just talk about that. And then you've got another record to play, talk about that.
Where did you learn that? Who did you learn that from?
Probably Tom Donahue.
Yeah, it was because when I was listening to this Bill Brown air check from WCBS FM in New York before they went all oldies, it was really interesting because that's almost exactly what he did. He took a break. One of the breaks, like they would come in between the songs and tell you what the song was. Coming up, here's something from Delaney and Bonnie on a brand new album due out this Tuesday. Boom. Only and he the only long break he took in the air check was just telling people he was happy to be back from vacation because Johnny Magnets was taking over, took over for him.
Right.
But that was the longest, But again, these guys, when you think about the people I grew up with, Scott Muni and those guys, the only time that they went long is I remember on WOR FM, they used to talk about the peace protest marches.
Oh yeah, what's coming? What's happening in the
Right. The
street?
jocks would say, if you want more information, go down to the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee on 17th Street, and they'll help you out. The march is this Saturday. Hope to see you out there. Boom.
Imagine that there wasn't a 20 people in the street outside the station protesting it because they were in favor of the war. This is, of all the wars that I've been in favor of, this is my favorite. This is
Oh,
the
you
war
had
we
that.
like the
You
most.
had them too. Um you had the All American people that wanted to go out and rip flags off of people that would wear them on their ass and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that was my old man and his crew. Construction workers, laborers, people whose brothers were going and dying over there for no freaking reason whatsoever.
No, and that's why they were angry. In fact, I think that probably was the beginning of the white anger, white fear, and white outrage and white chaos that we have today. As
The silent majority.
well, we didn't put any bets on it, but who would have bet at that time that the white people were the ones who were going to have to watch out for? White people are going to try and steal your government. White people are going to have an insurrection. The white people are going to have their own president. The white people are going to have their own candidates, their own language, their own religion, their own schools, their own beliefs, and their own medicine. Now, white people medicine is the next step after you admit to yourself that the viruses are a hoax. Then you don't need that kind of medicine. You can get new medicine, but like the kind of medicine that they use on sheep to deworm them. And let me tell you, there's not a
local
Republican.
store.
Vinnie will tell you there's not a Republican in town who's got worms. They've all been taken care of with ivermectin.
There are some Republicans that are worms,
That's different, though.
but they don't have worms. So
It's true.
that's a good thing.
That's a step forward.
Thing. Yeah. So it's funny because I'm there's things happening, Michael, in politics, but I'm not in the real mood to talk about politics today.
I know.
Today's it almost feels like we should be talking about music or something like that. It almost feels like you need a break. You need
Funny thing I saw today on Ramp, which is like all access, gives you the news of the recording and the radio industry, radio and records. And there are two new labels starting up, strangely enough. Charlie Walk, who had been a member of the record industry for a long time, is starting his own label called Aspen Artists. He's got headquarters in New York, Aspen, Colorado, and Mexico City, strangely enough. Wonder how long that'll last. And then Pulse Records has just joined the Concord Music Group, which is headed out of Los Angeles. They own Fantasy Records and Concord Records, and they have a good deal of what we would call adult rock artists on their
Right.
their roster. And somebody starts a new label and affiliates with them for distribution and support and A&R and everything else that you need in terms of promotion.
It must be.
When's the last time you heard of two majors starting? I mean, there's a lot of people starting small labels in their bedroom, and I say go for it. Don't let anybody tell you. And all you need is a hit, and you're in business.
Yeah. I mean, the country genre has come up with some labels over the past few years.
Well, because
But
it's such a vital part of the industry, country music.
yeah, but really, when you think about it, I mean, it's the same players. May have different names on the sticker on the album, but
Same cats.
it's the same cats that are running it. How different must A&R be? These not just A&R, but the record promo business. How different must that be today? Where,
How do you do it? I mean, it used to be all you needed was a phone and a release. You needed a phone and a new something new to talk about.
and a connection.
You got to talk to somebody who's really to help you. Somebody, and you got to have a couple programmers in your pocket.
Yeah,
You got to know that maybe this isn't the best release, but you're still going to get added in Cleveland. You're still going to get added in Buffalo. How? I know a guy.
yeah. It must be so different because these days, I mean, the best you can do is have people that are smart in social media and make it try to catch on because that's where the hits are being made now.
You've got to use social media to tell someone that the song is there. Here's the song by New York Vinnie. It's the new one, Cara Mia. You're gonna love this. It's a remake of a standard, and it's just that is probably the most important element of it. This is out. This is available. This is now on Spotify. This has just got added at WPIX, and the idea of a promo man calling a music director seems dated, but maybe it's so dated that that's what they should start doing. Maybe one guy on with a phone is all you really do need if he can make his presence known across the format.
Well, you got to think there's synergy going on between the promoters and the people who are programming stuff like Spotify and whatever the heck else, Amazon Music and the other things. But
Apple Music, you can buy in.
yeah, yeah,
You can buy a flight for your new release.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's basically. But I'll tell you what, I see a lot on YouTube is black artists buying the time to run their song.
Right, right.
They just buy, they buy. I guess it's cheap enough to buy, a 3 minute video, and they do a 3 minute video. I haven't seen too many white artists do it, but I've seen a lot of black, a lot of rap, a lot of that side of the music business doing it on YouTube.
Do you think
And
that the music video is getting tired in terms of all the elements that have been tried? How many times have we tried this one? I mean, how many times do you want to see a big car pulling up to the pool with three girls partying and eating fruit by the picnic table?
no, I think that the music video as we know it, that concept of the 3 minute 57 second, hot for teacher, that kind
Yeah,
of that kind of thing is because people don't have the attention span anymore.
they can't give you 3 minutes. It's
You got
true.
you got to do it in 15 or 30 seconds on TikTok.
Yep. Play.
That's what people are watching.
You might be
If you look
better
at
off. Yeah,
yeah,
might better off just doing the hook.
that's it. Do the hook and have a very creative video, but short, 15
Yeah.
seconds,
Yes, I agree.
and make them want to hear more of what you're doing. But
That's why I can't do podcasts. I even if I'm really interested, it's hard to for some reason I want to turn it off. My impulse is this is good, but well, I'll listen. I'm pulling away because of the time constraint.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely it's definitely the whole dynamic is changing. Um, I mean, it's interesting because I kind of look at what's going on in England, where BBC is still strong.
Very strong. They got 7 channels.
Yeah, maybe it's not as strong as they used to be, but they're still, artists still go to the morning show on BBC too. And Zoe, one of the morning DJs there, still, you know, um, has guests in the studio. And it seems to me that what they do is they have high powered guests. They
Right.
got, your producer has to have a good Rolodex. So you're in the studio and you Kiefer Sutherland and I don't know, name a star of today, and then you bring in like a Rick Astley, somebody who's kind of yesterday but still kind
Still
of out there
alive.
pounding the boards,
Yeah.
and but you're doing that every day. Your
It's a big
producer's got to be nuts.
it's a big show.
It's a big show. It's got to be a big show every day.
And the good thing about radio, that type of big show, you can, if you can find them throughout the day, pre-record those and get yourself a segment for tomorrow.
You can't because they also stream it live on video. It's as much of a TV show now.
Oh wow. Oh well, that makes it a bigger bite for the artist then.
Yeah. So now you're doing it live. It's on video. You're streaming it live. So it's not just radio anymore. It's you can, and then and then your producer has to cut it up
Well, then
at the end.
if you pre-record it, you have to pre-record the audio and the video.
Yeah, and I don't know, and I think it's really difficult to do that, and make it come off right. Because all of a sudden you go to a studio with four people sitting in there all rapping and flapping and gabbing. You go to a studio that has nobody in it. It looks weird.
Yeah. I wonder where they get their equipment because the BBC's got nice studios.
Oh yeah, they have fine. Yeah, their stuff is fine. It really is. But yeah, the music business has just changed so dramatically from what we knew.
It hardly survived at one point. The genres that have grown so strong, like country and urban music, any variation or child of hip hop, is ruling the roost. The idea of Americana or rock and roll becoming tiny portions of the music dollar, it just has to be seen to be believed, but it's true.
Well, another one that you didn't mention um, that has also helped boost the record business is Christian music. It's huge. It's a
It's
freaking huge thing.
it's praise.
Yeah, it's. I mean, they're in most cities, especially in the South, have a Christian station in the top 10.
And I want to thank the Christian music associations all around the world for coming up with the least sincere, most lifeless performances for the year of 2023.
Well, Michael, I got to tell you, I mean, I've listened to it at times. There's a big station here in Seattle, Krista Ministries, and I don't know if I agree with that. I think there's some good stuff. I mean, it's clean, it's not raunchy, it's not, but it's kind of good poppy, feel good kind of stuff. And if that's what you're into, if you're into hearing, if you're one of those people, Bible thumpers that are into that, and you don't want to hear about, you know, like you said before, the car pulling up with the kids with the guns and the whole thing, maybe this is an alternative for you. It's clean, it's easy, it's 1950s. It's um, it's not going to offend you.
It's
And
insidious in its message, however.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I don't know how to put it. I mean, I don't listen to it really. Every once in a while, if I'm clicking down, I just put it on here. The jocks really more than anything else, and who's down there. But I got to tell you, it's an interesting subset of the whole thing because that business, much like the gospel music business, in the face of all of the other stuff that's going on, is doing okay. It's thriving.
They have their own Christian praise crooks that say,
Oh yeah,
play my 45 or play my 45.
play my 45 or you're going to heaven or you're not going to heaven. But it's an interesting thing right now because if you're Paul, I don't know, name me somebody else and you put out new product, is it getting played on radio these days?
No, as a matter of fact, you mentioned two artists that sold their catalog to other publishers as a result of their last chance at a big payday. Both Paul Simon sold his personal uh, catalog of songs, his own publishing, Paul Simon Music. And then this week they just made another agreement to acquire the works that he did with Art Garfunkel, the Simon and Garfunkel catalog
Wow.
of music, and that's a big hunk. And Bruce did the same thing earlier.
Yeah, I think it was what 5 million he got or something. It was an obscene amount of money.
It was hundreds of millions, yeah.
Um, but if you can own the rights to Bridge Over Troubled Water, it's probably worth it, right?
That would be nice.
I mean, that song. I mean, you think of all the stuff that Simon and Garfunkel did, and I don't know. I don't think it's the most recorded song, but I think Bridge Over Troubled Water is probably up in the top 5 most recorded songs.
And it is a bitch to sing. It just starts nowhere and goes everywhere. If you want to see what the range looks like, try Aretha Franklin live at the Fillmore, Bridge Over Troubled Water. My God,
Well,
what a work!
And look at the original. I mean, Art Garfunkel. Paul Simon just kind of stepped back and said, "Let him go."
Said, "I can't sing that high.
I
Go."
can't do that. No, all right. You take it. And it's probably the smartest thing he ever did.
It worked perfectly.
Because he sang that song like it was coming from heaven, man. He sang that. Art Garfunkel sang that song, sang the crap out of that song, man.
Paul McCartney talked about that. He said, "How come this little Jewish kid from New York writes these gospel songs, these gospel hits? The structure and the progression and the sound of Bridge Over Troubled Water is not New York Lower East Side. It's not New York rock and roll. It's like a Stephen Foster gospel song."
Well, because New York isn't all downtown. New York isn't. I don't know this for a fact, but I would, if I were to have to answer that question to McCartney, I would say that what people don't understand about New York and about the music scene is it's such a mix of everything. And when those guys were coming up, you spin down the radio dial and you're going to hear everything. You're going to hear salsa, merengue, you're going to hear soul music. You're going to be influenced, and especially if you're into music, because everybody comes there to play. So if you like, it's not just one piece of or one sound. It is so many different sounds. And if you are open to seeing this stuff and open to experiencing it at a young age, as Art Garfunkel did and Paul Simon,
they were both from Queens.
Yeah, both from Forest Hills. There's all the different cultures are in your face. So if you hear things you like, you can find more of them. If you live in Cleveland and you hear some kind of jazz, let's say. So let's say, I don't know.
Stan Getz.
Yeah, Stan Getz. Okay. Maybe once a year Stan Getz comes to town. And maybe not even that. But you're in New York, he's playing 5 nights at the Blue Note.
Yeah.
You can get in to see him.
Because he can walk to work.
You can study him.
Yeah.
You can. So you have these different influences that come into you. That's why most people from New York, now it's different. I don't know how it is now. I can tell you in the time I grew up, you just opened yourself up to a lot of different things. For people who were musically inclined. Now, this doesn't apply to the average person, because the average people are still going to have but also, one more thing on this is that the radio stations back then, and WABC being the biggest one, played all different kinds of music. If you look at a top 40 from 1961, let's say, or 1960, or maybe 1962, you'll go down and you'll see 5 different kinds of music on your hit radio station. You'll hear a Girl from Ipanema, you'll hear a Sinatra tune, you'll hear a Beatles tune, you'll hear a Dave Clark 5 tune, you'll hear a
not 1961. Franti and Teicher before.
You'll hear Exodus. WABC played Exodus. So you're just exposed to a lot of different music.
That was the playlist of KFWB before it went all news. When Connie Francis could have a hit record, where Franti and Teicher could have a hit record, where a
Yep.
country artist like Johnny Horton could have a hit record.
First place I ever heard about Jimmy Dean was on WABC.
Big Bad John.
Big Bad John. I remember they played the crap out of Lorne Green, Ringo.
I wish they hadn't, but they did.
Ringo, Ringo.
And he didn't sing; he just talked it.
That's all he had to do. He had the number one. I don't know if that song ever made number one, but it was pretty popular.
Funny thing, that was before Ringo's Star. That Ringo was pre-Ringo.
Wow. See? He was ahead of his time, Lorne Green. But you had, I mean, there was a variety of stuff out there.
And there was something else that grew. It was very popular in New York. That grew nationwide and then influenced rock and roll a great deal. And that was what was not folk music, but the new folk music, the Peter, Paul and Mary and the Phil Oaks and Tim Hardin and Odetta, people like that who had a different look and feel and had a different way to deliver their music. And it affected a lot of rock artists later on, not only the music that they chose, but the way they chose to produce it and the way they chose to bring it, and how they even expanded quickly into electric music, which the folk purists were upset about.
Oh my God, what was that, 67 at Newport with...
the public was not upset. The public said, yes, we like electric 12-string guitars. Yeah, we like the drums on the Simon & Garfunkel album. We like the new music that these folk artists are playing. And folk rock, whatever that is, became a factor to be dealt with. And it led to the Byrds, and it led to the Flying Burrito Brothers, and it led to the Eagles eventually. There was just, and they all came from that Greenwich Village folk sound.
Yeah, down at the bitter end in the Village Gate and Cafe Wah, where those bands always played. But
the worst sign, by the way, in all of New York, Cafe Wah. It looked like it was written by a child. The question mark wasn't quite right. So you're looking at it. Does it say Cafe Wah, or did they misspell it, or is it a cafe, or what? What is a Wah?
Oh man, it's still there, the Cafe Wah. It's different than it is. It's different now than it was back then. Obviously, they may have actually mopped the floor between 1967 and now.
Well, I hope not.
Probably not. You'll find some interesting DNA in that place.
No doubt.
And then by 1969, 70, you had Max's Kansas City.
Ungaros. Remember Ungaros? On the west side?
I don't know if I remember Ungaros. No, I don't know if I remember that.
It was a 300-seat house. Kinks played there once.
Yeah. and you had all these different... And some of the hotels did rock and roll shows.
Sure.
Some of the hotels did had, like the New York Hilton used to have rock and roll shows in their ballroom.
And there was a couple theaters downtown, and Bill Graham said, aren't you using these things? This is New York. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Wait, I got an idea. I think I'll put on a show.
Well, that's where the East Village Theater, or the Village Theater, became the Fillmore East. And then the Academy of Music on 14th Street became the Palladium. And again, Bill Graham was smart enough. You go back and you look at the posters from the Fillmore East and look at the variety of music that's being presented to you. One show, $3 a ticket or whatever it is. You get in and you're going to hear a jazz act. You're going to hear something, metal. Maybe you'll get a Buffy St. Marie.
And don't forget the blues artists. When B.B. King played the Fillmore West for the first time, he knew about the Fillmore in San Francisco because he had played the Chitlin Circuit in the Fillmore. And he pulled up in front of the Fillmore West, which was just the Fillmore at that time. And the line is long-haired white kids all the way around the block. And he sends in his manager and said, find out what the hell's going on. We're in the wrong place. We're going to be late for the show. I know what the hell's going on here. Why don't we know where we're going? And they come back and said, no, this is it. This is it, BB. We're playing here tonight. And he goes, but what he couldn't believe and what's astounded him more than a line of white kids around the block of what should have been a black audience was the way they received him. He was a star and he didn't know it. He was acclaimed as a great guitarist and didn't know it. He was acclaimed as a great interpreter of song and a stylist. And he said that he had never been received like that in his life. They were absolutely on stage. They were stunned. They knew what to expect from an audience. They knew we play this song, they react this way. This song, they react. But these white kids didn't know that. They loved it all.
That was because of the beginning of FM radio.
Yep.
Where jocks were on and they started pulling stuff like that to play.
Yep.
They said we're gonna open this up when WABC FM in New York went on the air as a rock and roll station. That's what they did. They pulled blues records. They pulled old stuff, stuff and people heard that and went, wow.
How about playing the side of a record? That's something that FM stations did. And it sounds so simple now, but it was revolutionary. He played the whole side of the record. What happened when the song was over? Nothing. They just let it go to the next song.
Went to the next song. Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you go back and you think about it, Mikey. It's we grew up at the right time.
A golden age, a renaissance of music.
We caught it at the right time. It'll never be like that again.
Nope. Next time it'll be something different.
Yeah, it'll never ever be like that though. People are too afraid of each other. We weren't afraid of each other back then, were we?
It was. What do you think the neighborhood felt like in the Fillmore when every weekend there's white kids parking their cars in everybody's driveway in every street, every place that you can put a car, walking the streets of the Fillmore before the show and after the show. It changed the neighborhood in a wonderful way forever. All because somebody could tune a guitar.
Yeah, it was always pretty amazing to me. Just how now the East Village, it didn't change that neighborhood much. Well, you know what? It did though, because what people did in the East Village is people started, everybody always lived in the West Village. That was the Greenwich Village. That's where you live. But in the East Village, which was a bad neighborhood,
rough town,
people started moving into those, $45 a month apartments.
A lot of them were empty.
Yeah. People started moving in. All of a sudden, now you have music coming out the windows and people opening up stores and stuff like that. The block the Fillmore was on was always full, except that corner store on the south end of the Fillmore Marquee. I don't ever remember that store being open, but Ratner's was always open 24 hours a day.
That was a weird part of town. It really wasn't the village. It didn't look like the village. It had that uptown feel.
It had been the Jewish ghetto.
Yeah, it had been, yes.
If you went across the street and a couple of blocks up, 2-3 blocks up, you had the Jewish theater. I think it was the Anderson, and I forget the other one, but the whole Jewish acting community, the Molly Pecan, the Sam Levines, what's his name? Feivel Farvush.
And they did their shows in Yiddish.
And they still did the shows. There was people that would still go and still watch the shows, and they did them in Yiddish. And it was a beautiful thing. It was 2nd Avenue going downtown. You had the Jewish theater. You had the Ukrainian. There was a Ukrainian section in there where they had Ukrainian restaurants and stuff like that. Then you went further down, and there was the Fillmore. And then you went a little further down, and there were the Hare Krishnas.
Hare Rama.
Yeah, all on this stretch of Second Avenue, from 14th to Houston. If it existed in the world somewhere, something that had to do with it was on that street. It was the
That's what
most culturally diverse street I had ever seen in my life.
one of the aspects of present day Los Angeles is that it too is as diverse as everything you mentioned. There's neighborhoods for everyone that you just mentioned, but it's so spread out that you can live your whole life and never know it's there. You could be in LA every day, commute back and forth to work. And if you don't go down the right street, you won't know it's there. There's a Russian area of Hollywood where the signs are in Russian. Don't ask me how long that's going to last, but for right now, that's what works. There's enough people are speaking Russian and reading Russian that's where they get to buy their stuff. There's the largest Korean population outside of Seoul, Korea itself, right in LA. Koreatown is huge. Great restaurants, by the way. Koreans have outstanding food.
Yeah, we have a
And
whole Korean section right here in
there you go.
on Route 99 over here.
Yeah,
They
you
call it
haven't
the
had
International
Korean,
District, and
haven't had Korean food. Better get some today. It's really tasty.
Korean barbecue is off the charts, man.
Boon cookie.
Except they put egg on everything.
Well, you could ask them to hold the egg,
Yeah,
or
there's
you could go to
little,
the restaurants. They have restaurants with a hot plate in front of you, and you cook your own food. You ever seen those in Korean town?
no, I don't think. No, I don't remember those. Or I haven't seen them. But yeah, there's a lot of great Korean restaurants up, just right along a block away from me here. Um, yeah, it's just amazing the cultural diversity that we enjoy by living in big cities, and
It's
it
a
makes
big plus. It's a big plus, and it's a joy to see.
well. Why is everybody so afraid of it?
Well, first of all, you have a television network saying that the brown masses are coming across the border to kill you, that the black thieves are outside your door to murder you, that the minorities of this nation have destroyed the white race and put them on the run, on the defense. So if you're angry, well, we'll be right back. First, here's a word from Ford Motor Company. We'll be right back.
Yeah,
As I was saying, if you're angry, it's not your fault. You have every right to be angry. Those people have taken your life away from you. Those people have changed this country. Those people are the problem. But you idiot white guy, you angry white guy, you're just what we're looking for. We'll be right back after this word from Pepsodent. Brush your
yeah.
teeth every day, white people. And
New
there you
McQueen.
go. And for hate radio in every market, it's Bob's feed down the street. It's Jimmy's transmission spot is hoping to ride on the back of hate talk and fear and loathing. We've monetized it. If you're afraid, find out who made money making you afraid, and
Well,
there's your source.
everybody saw Fox making money, selling out all this, and said, "Well, we can do this on the radio. We don't need Sean Hannity. We don't need Bill O'Reilly. We don't need Gutfeld. We can get some local yokel to
To
uh,
make stuff up as he
to
goes
go
along.
on and piss people off about the other part of the about the other half of the town.
About the traffic and the mayor and the city council and the city and the school district. They're all in league to destroy the white man.
Right?
Won't take long to get them up and
They
up and
they they're
armed.
they're coming into schools and they're making our kids get sex change operations.
And we used to have recess, not anymore. Now it's choose your bathroom.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you didn't have guns all over the place, you could have recess.
Guns aren't the problem. I'm sorry, didn't I mention that? Guns are not the problem. We'll be right back after this word from Chrysler Motors.
People don't kill people. Guns kill. No, guns don't kill people. People kill people.
Yeah, let me let me work on that till I get it right. People are not being killed. That's all you need to know. That's a hoax. Just like the virus. Get your
Um,
ivermectin. That's
I
Bob's feed
do.
store got ivermectin today.
Yeah. Well, I do want to bring up something that has nothing to do with music or hate talk or anything. Um, are you a Costco member?
No.
Well, I am, and Costco. I didn't notice this was a thing. But it's a thing.
What? Tell.
So they have a Netflix problem. And when you go to Costco and you check out, you got to give them your Costco card. And they run it through the machine. It's not a credit card, it's just your membership card. You pay $50 a year, whatever it is. Well, I guess when they installed the self-checkout things,
Yes.
now people are going to Costco and using somebody else's Costco card
Oh, right. Of course.
to buy stuff. So instead of buying 5 memberships or something like that, everybody, friends are handing the cards off to each other. So Costco is saying that now we are going to check your picture ID because your picture is on the Costco card.
When you go in?
No. When you're checking out of the self-service lanes. I mean,
it's a big enough deal for them to do it. Not they won't hire somebody to check you out, but they'll have someone to check you out.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, it's funny in some ways, but I guess they lose money on the deal because one person buys a card and just like Netflix, one person gets a subscription and 35 other people are using the subscription.
So are they saying they make more money on the subscription than they make on your purchase?
I guess it's because it's they want to keep the value of the membership up because if you can use anybody's card, then why should you get a membership? You just know somebody with a membership, they get it, maybe you split it with them and you both use it.
Can you have your picture taken together? Mikey and Vinnie's Costco card?
No, it's got to be one person. You can get family Costco card, but I think this thing's deeper than that. I think they're probably. I mean, Costco's not losing money. Let's not worry about that.
They still selling cheap gas, or do they?
Oh yeah, it's 50 cents cheaper at Costco than it is anywhere else. It's $4.51. I think I paid the other day, or 2 weeks ago. I had a car last week. But the big draw at Costco is the $4.99 rotisserie chicken.
That's a good price. That's $9 or $10 in the stores.
Yeah, I bought one last night. I think I paid $8 for it, $7.99 or something like that. But it's we don't feel that it's, according to a Costco statement, we don't feel right that non-members receive the same benefits in pricing as our members. Costco had around 66 million paid members and 119 million cardholders in 2022. And you buy the $60 regular membership and the $120 executive membership.
What does the executive membership get you?
You get money back on your purchases. So if you go there and buy a lot, it's worth it. If you do a lot of your shopping at Costco, I think it's 3%, something like that you get back, 4% up to, I don't know, $2,000 or something like that. So it pays for itself. And there's a few other benefits. I don't remember what the exact. They made $4.2 billion in membership fees in 2022. Yeah. They don't have to sell anything.
No. Anybody want this big jar of mustard? We can't. Never mind. Just buy your membership. We'll sell the mustard to somebody else. We'll sell the mustard to Harry M. Stevens.
He's got his mustard still is in the 1950s glass jars.
He's got plenty left over. We bought when we knew it was, when the price was right. We bought mustard.
He's got mustard that says New York Giants on it. And we're not talking about football.
No. Talking about his stadium, what is no longer there. Where is it? It ain't there.
No, well, yeah, no. I mean, Yankee Stadium's gone where the Giants played. And the Polo Grounds are gone. And Shea Stadium's gone.
Seal Stadium is gone. Candlestick Park is gone. These Giants go through homes, don't they?
Yeah. Wow. It's
But they beat the Toronto Blue Jays last night 3-0. It was 1-0, and everything was going to go to bed with 1-0. What the heck? But in the ninth inning, they got angry, started hitting that damn ball again, and it was 3-0 before they could stop.
well, I'm glad you didn't see what happened last night with the Mariners, because the Mariners snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. They
You
figured
mean
out how to do it.
they
It took them 11 innings to figure it out.
they couged it at last. It took extra time to coug it that way.
But boy, oh boy, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. They're going to have to either make a trade or do something. They don't, they got guys that should be hitting the ball, but they don't seem to put last year. Remember me talking about how much they put the offense in motion, and they were,
Yeah.
hit and run. They got guys that can run the bases. They got guys that can hit, but yet they don't see Rodriguez's batting average is down. He doesn't look as comfortable at the plate as he did last year. I think maybe some of the whole thing got to him.
Well, what about the idea that one player isn't going to make a difference? What are you going to trade for? Power or pitching?
Well, you're probably gonna. Although last year they traded for pitching, they thought they needed power, and at the deadline they did a deal that brought what's his name over, Castillo from the Reds. So you get you can never have enough pitching, but you got to have something. You can't keep losing games 2-1, and I mean they had. I don't know. They had 8 runners. They stranded 8 runners in the last 3 innings of the game. The bases loaded,
Wow.
bottom of the 10th. No out.
Oh boy. That's when I make my speech. Hello, you don't know me. I'm speaking on behalf of baseball. You're the Seattle Mariners, so hear me clearly. If you don't hit the damn ball, I will get someone who will. Starting tonight, starting today, starting this inning. Hit the damn ball, or I'll get someone who will. And that's all I want to say.
Well, I don't know. Do players today respond to a Lou Piniella kicking over a buffet table in the clubhouse?
That actually pisses them off more than it helps them. You mess with the buffet table, and you've got hell to pay. They'll never forgive you.
But
I love Lou. I love sweet Lou, but he kicked over the table one day, and I can't abide that. I can't forgive him.
there was the day in spring training where they're on the bus going from a game that they blew, and I mean really blew, back to Peoria. And the bus is going down the street, and Lou sees a little league field. And he tells the driver, pull the bus over. So they pull the bus over, and he gets everybody out of the bus. He says, watch these kids. They play better than you. You got like 25 Major League ball players. Like, little kids are probably going, what the?
I hope they gave him some balls and bats.
Oh, man. There's nothing like Lou, man. He squeezed every last inch out of everybody he got. The only time I ever seen him fail was Jeff Cirillo.
There was a guy that wasn't with the team long. I think his name was Soto. I can't be certain of that. And if it's not the case, then I do apologize to all the Sotos out there. But he didn't run to first base one time in spring training. He just lollygagged down there. And that set Lou Piniella on fire. He added for that guy. It was never going to be the same until he was gone from the team. And he got rid of him. And that's how much running to first base is not important. It's symbolic of the whole reason you're playing the game. The shortstop has to know that you're going to hustle like it's the 100-yard dash in the Olympics.
Right.
And it affects the way he throws the ball. But if he sees that you're just a guy, just a player who thinks the National League owes him a job, that's how they treat you.
Well, and plus, the Mariners even got a couple of good breaks last night. They got one one deal where the kid who was pitching, um, the batter stepped out of the box and they got him on a pitch clock violation.
Yeah.
The batter didn't get back in time, so call strike 3, you're out, inning over, when they had runners on. There was another one where this was the hustle play of the night. Kellenick is on third. I think this first and third, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's ball's hit to the shortstop. Kellenick takes off with the hit. As soon as he hears the crack of the bat, he's going down the home. So the shortstop gets over there, picks it up, and throws it home. Doesn't get the force out at second. Doesn't touch the bag. And Kellenick is tagged out. But instant replay shows that the catcher did not tag Kellenick before he touched the plate.
Aha.
Another run scores and puts him ahead for a minute. But the Nationals come back. So, I don't know. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. They still interest me as a ball club. I'm getting more interested in them.
How far out of first are they right now? How many games?
I think they're like 10. There are a couple of games under 500. I think they're 10 out, 8 out, something like that. Let me look real quick.
You know, Vinny, that's exactly the shape the Giants were in last month. All it took was a winning streak to set them straight, to get them into second place, and to give them the spirit that they have now that they didn't have then. They have a cockiness. They have a camaraderie. You know how winning teams are.
Yeah.
It's fun to be on a winning team. It's fun every day you go to work. And things happen to winning teams. Good things.
Yeah,
not just accidents.
Mariners are 9.5 out.
One winning streak can fix that.
Yeah, and 4.5 back in the wild card. So they're 2 games under 500. Hey, how about the A's? They beat the Yankees last night.
I guess I love the A's in my own way, mostly remembering who used to be there, but I can't get too excited about the Vegas A's.
Yeah, they're up to 21 wins, man. That puts them, I think, off the pace of the 2 Mets. Because they're 21 and they're not even at the halfway point of the season. So if they were consistent as they are now, that would give them 40, I don't know, probably 42 wins, 43 wins?
Right.
And the Mets had 40, the 62 Mets. So they're trying to avoid that. But it was sad to see.
They don't stink. They have some talent.
Yeah, they have some talent. It was sad to see the Coliseum last night. My nephew went to the game with his parents and sent me back a picture of what the Coliseum looked like. And I mean, everybody had their own beer vendor.
Waistline.
It was just, it used to be a beautiful ballpark. I mean, it was one of the old style ballparks, but you still had that opening out there. Since they put that slab up there, Mount Davis, even the ballpark doesn't look good anymore.
Well,
and it looks really bad when it's empty.
Somebody came up with the idea when we were younger, Vinny, that it was a good idea to combine football and baseball into one stadium. It wasn't a good idea. Just look at this. If you look at the shapes of the fields, you just say, how am I going to put one of those in one of these and one of those? And it's got to fit both of them and it's got to be in this building. Well, the answer is you don't. You dedicate your stadium to your sport, and that's where the profit is.
Well, it's funny because, Shea actually came up with a solution to that. They had, the first base stands, those stands all up along first base was on rollers. So in football season, they just moved all of this, the whole stands just moved around and came around to center field. So it had a football shape to it.
Similar thing they did at Candlestick. They had a rolling section that came out on the far side of the field. It was built for baseball, but modified for football. And they did rather well with their football teams in those days.
Yes, I seem to remember the 49ers at Candlestick won a few games, as did the Jets at Shea one year. Oh my God!
There
How
was a
crazy.
conversation. Apparently, there's a show that follows the spring training and the organization of NFL football. I can't remember what it's called. And they wanted to do the Jets this year. And the head coach, Robert Saleh, said, no. We're not having reality television follow us through. And the hosts on ESPN this morning, early in the morning, 4 a.m, I couldn't sleep, were arguing about this. And actually, the most of them came down on the side that the Jets needed the exposure. The hell with what it would do to the unity of the team, or the fact that
Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback and you're going to put it on TV. Sorry, no.
And plus, doesn't Aaron Rodgers have anything to say about that? Hey, we have a new team here. We have a new job to do. We don't need cameras over our shoulders doing reality television, hoping that there's going to be an accident. You know damn well that they're going to find somebody who's disgruntled and just wait for the fist to fly.
I don't know why any general manager would let their team do that. Any owner.
It's poison.
It's just not good. Yeah, you see stuff that, but I don't know. It's to me, it's wrong.
And I think the teams that participate always regret it.
Yeah, I'm an old man, so I don't know.
It takes about one day when you get tired of being followed around by a camera.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ask anybody on 90 Day Fiancé; they'll tell you.
I've got 90 days to do what? To do anything. I don't know. You're on the show. Be a star. Make a mess.
Do something. Do something.
Go in the kitchen and break all the plates. Do something.
All right, Michael. I think that'll bring us to the conclusion of another conclusion.
That's your conclusion. I concede your conclusion, and I see you a farewell.
And I raise you a so long goodbye. And
shall we meet on a Freaky Friday?
See you Friday for Freaky Friday, July 4th action.
It's going to be fractious.
Oh, it's going to be fractious. It's going to be, we'll celebrate America. Celebrate this great country of ours.
By the way, Independence Day is going to be on the 4th of July this year. So put that on your calendar.
I'm writing it down right now. If the Lord's willing, the creek don't rise, though. That's the one factor we always say.
It's important.
If there's a flood, we're not going to be on. Short of that, remember to always enjoy peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
We drink Manischewitz down in the creek when it rises.
Oh, yes. See you later.
See you, man.